Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Lauren Williamson. In a heartfelt and bittersweet departure, Mary Anderson, the chair of the Harwich Select Board, announced her resignation effective immediately on October 25th. Her decision cited personal reasons as the primary reason for her departure in an email to the town clerk, Emily Mitchell. She is quoted saying, "It is with a very bittersweet emotion that I am resigning from the Select Board effective immediately. This is not a decision I have made lightly, but for personal reasons, I find it is necessary to take this step." Having served as the chair and a member of the board since her resounding election in May 2021, Anderson mentioned a regretful departure from the pressing issues, highlighting housing as a pivotal concern she wished to continue addressing. She is also quoted saying, "I have never quit anything in my life, but at this point, I have to do what is best for me. I wish my fellow Select Board members all the best, but mostly I wish all the best for the town of Harwich, which we all love." The departure prompted heartfelt gratitude from the remaining Select Board members, acknowledging and thanking Anderson for her dedicated service to the town of Harwich.
And I'd just like to take a minute to acknowledge our colleague, Mary Anderson, just to say thank you to Mary for the wonderful job she did and all the hard work she put in for our board. She was a great collaborator. She reached out to so many different people in town and really tried to hit the ground running once she was elected. So I just want to acknowledge all the hard work Mary did and thank her for her time. I don't know if other board members want to say anything.
I would echo that. Mary I have nothing but the utmost respect for her, and she did a great job running meetings and did an awful lot of work for this town, and she's owed a huge thank you.
Right.
Often we look at remarks and posts that are posted in places, and some of them are so disgraceful. It was hard to read. But the amount of time and work that Mary Anderson spent for the town of Harwich, she's owed a thank you by every resident in this town.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to say for the short time that I spent on the board with Mary, it was truly an honor and a privilege to get to meet such a wonderful person, a person who's so giving of her time and energy. And yeah, she'll be missed by me, and I'm just better off for knowing Mary. So thank you to Mary.
Yeah, I echo that. I'd like to thank Mary, and she's a terrific human being and had offered a lot of work. I don't think anybody realizes how much work it is to be on the board, but we all appreciate it.
Anderson's resignation led to a discussion among the remaining board members regarding the potential for a special election to fill the vacancy.
You'd be operating under Chapter 41, Section 10, which says you may call the election, so there's no compulsion for the board. There is a provision, however, if more than 200 voters petition and demand it, you must call it. So there is that concept of if you want to have control over the process.
So Emily has outlined dates, obviously, and impacts in terms of holidays, et cetera. So when you look at those dates, she asks us that if, obviously respectfully requests that should you pursue a special election, you set the date no later than January 23rd. And the earliest legal date would be January 2nd. So it's sort of crunch period of making a decision on whether or not we want to move forward with the special election. I mean, other than that, she's got other specifics in here for us to consider in terms of, like, for example, if you were to choose the date that impacts town clerk's office for after Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving is not a legal holiday, so they would have to be open for that. So, just different considerations we should make. And then, of course, the overall cost, which she estimates at about $20,000.
I don't see the point, given the time that we're up against, the time that it would take a resident to pull the papers. And if we went with the 2nd, they'd have to have the paperwork back in within 2 weeks.
Right.
If we went with the 9th, it would be 3 weeks. I know when I decided to run for the board, it was a lot longer thought process and conversation than that. And the thought of being thrown into it when we're preparing for town meeting with a bunch of information we've already talked about seems a little daunting to me. The 20,000 is just the clerk's office cost, doesn't include DPW. I did notice that it was not in the budget for the clerk's office, and I would assume it's probably not in the budget for the DPW. Not saying that we can't come up with the money, but I, for now, am against having a special election.
So I just want to be clear, my hesitation in wanting to throw my feelings out there, my thoughts out there is, and waiting to hear what everybody else has to say is because this is my first go-around. I'm not really sure how intense January through May gets for our town employees, for everybody involved. So if there can be some insight for me while we're having this discussion, because at the end of the day, I kind of did the math. We're looking at about 3.5 months prior to the next election. So, you know, I'm looking for the value in it. It's not easy to find. So I'm just wanting to hear some more info, maybe from.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, it is crunch time from January on. It's crunch time really from now on.
Now
so.
on, right.
I'm pretty set, given the timeline and how long this person will serve, and not costing the town the $25,000 roughly that it's going to cost us. And I think that this board can certainly get through it with 4 members and not 5. It's an unfortunate resignation. If it was 8 months or a longer period of time, I would probably be for it. But for the 3.5 months roughly, by the time this happens, and then the thought of rushing someone to pull papers and rushing someone to run does not intrigue me.
And if I'm not mistaken, that person, if they wanted to continue forward and grab a 3-year seat, they would be campaigning as in their 3-month stint, pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, well,
Right?
you'd have to run again, right?
They'd run again. Okay, thank you.
The majority of the board expressed a preference not to rush into seeking a replacement due to the cost and time constraints. However, a differing opinion emerged from Don Howell, who advocated for a 5th member to maintain a fuller board.
I don't know. The whole point of the charter was to have 5 selectmen. The last time something similar to this happened was when Chief Peterson passed away, and it was a similar timeline, and they held the election. In terms of what goes on, you're looking at staff, I'm looking at us, and our timeline for the warrant really begins in earnest in December, and it really takes off in January forward. So I wouldn't be comfortable without having a full board, but that's just my opinion. I'll make a motion that we hold a special election.
Anyone second it?
Just for the record.
Okay. All right. I guess that's that. B,
So, Madam Chair, if I could have failed to gain a second?
yes.
Thank you.
Howell's motion to hold a special election in January to elect a 5th member was not seconded, leading to the resolution of the matter without immediate plans for a new election. Currently, one proactive citizen, Patrick Oaten, has taken the initiative to gather the 200 signatures needed to mandate a special election, emphasizing the importance of ensuring complete representation on the select board for the town's residents. For the time being, the board will continue operations with the existing 4 members until there are either enough signatures are collected or until the next scheduled election, which occurs in 2024.